That's why I've filed a war powers resolution that will ripen and be brought to a vote on the floor of the Senate this week. Senator Schumer is working with Leader Thune to make that happen. The United States should not be in an offensive war against Iran without a vote of Congress. The Constitution is completely clear on it. And I am so disappointed that the president has acted so prematurely. The foreign minister of Israel said Friday night that its own bombing campaign had set the Iranian nuclear program back, quote, at least 2 or 3 years, close quote.
Donald Trump's strike on Iran was not just an illegal act, but also a complete failure, as this administration touts a successful military operation that completely obliterated, using their word, their target. That's just not the case. Reporting is showing that although the Ford site was damaged, it was nowhere nearly destroyed, as Donald Trump might have you believe. And now this strike is backfiring even further as Donald Trump raises tensions, calling for regime change as Iran responds with threats against the United States. And all the while, Donald Trump and his administration are trying to spin lies. But so is Fox, pushing the false narrative to the furthest extent possible and using fake videos to try to justify Donald Trump's attack. But they were caught, and we are going to get into all of it. But first, I want to start with an insane meltdown we saw from a Fox host last night. Mark Levin attacking Democrats right now.
And so there they are, the reprobates, the miscreants, the malcontents, starting with AOC and Bernie Sanders. Two people who hate the Constitution and hate the Republic, or they wouldn't be Marxist Islamists, would they? So they say the president violated the War Powers Act, which was passed in 1973, and my guest, John, you and I are going to discuss at some length. It was violated. He must be impeached. He's a dictator. Our military just pulled off something that is astonishing. Just saved the world, the entire world. And by the way, that includes the United States, from a nuclear Iran. And the Democrats see this as an opportunity they believe to exploit. They're the enemy within. They are the enemy within.
So it's Mark Levin's claim that it's Democrats who are being opportunistic right now and trying to take advantage of a situation by lying. But it's Republicans who are war-mongering and supporting Donald Trump's effort to try to boost his approval rating with this unnecessary strike. And it's not just liberals saying that Republicans like Thomas Massey have made it clear that Donald Trump had no intelligence to go forth with this attack. He was saying it right here.
Something we talked to other lawmakers about as well in the Senate. I know there's efforts to support you, but the Speaker of the House, who is from your own party, has really rejected this. He says the Article 1 power of Congress really allows for the president to do this. It was a limited, necessary, targeted strike, he says.
Well, he's probably referring to the War Powers Act of 1973, but that's been misinterpreted. There was no imminent threat to the United States, which was what would authorize that. And I think that's peculiar to hear that from the Speaker of the House. Look, Congress was on vacation last week when all this was happening.
You haven't been briefed on any of
We
these
haven't been briefed. They should have called us all back. And frankly, we should have debated this War Powers resolution that Ro Khanna and I offered instead of staying on vacation and doing fundraisers and saying, oh, well, the president's got this under control. We're going to cede our constitutional authority.
So not only did Donald Trump have no justification for this attack, it's now clear that it was a failure. And before we get into the clip that Fox was trying to deliberately deceive their audience with a fake video, I want to start with what the contents of that fake video was, with the description of how Donald Trump's military operation was a complete failure after overnight strikes on Iran. President Trump on Sunday declared the operation a success and said that Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities were completely and totally obliterated. But his early public pronouncements contrast with more cautious assessment by us and Israeli militaries. The Israeli military, in an initial analysis, believes the heavily fortified nuclear site at Fordo has sustained serious damage from the American strike on Sunday, but has not been completely destroyed, according to 2 Israeli officials with knowledge of the matter. The officials also said it appeared Iran had moved equipment including uranium from the site. A senior U.S. official similarly acknowledged that the American strike on the Fordo site did not destroy the heavily fortified facility, but said the strike had severely damaged it. Taking it off the table, the person noted that even 12 bunker-busting bombs could not destroy the site. The damage assessment by Israel and the United States are ongoing, and they have not made any final conclusions. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss intelligence matters. So in contrast to what Donald Trump is saying, what's being pushed by the stooges in this administration? This was not a smashing success. This was not the perfect operation that they had hoped for, and initially they seemingly hoped for a perfect operation because Donald Trump was projecting this would be one strike that doesn't seem like the case anymore. It seems like he wants to escalate this conflict, but either way, the beginning of it was a failure, but Fox didn't want their audience to know that, and it's why they got caught pushing a fake clip that I want to take a look at right here. Nonsense. BBC calls out Fox's Sean Hannity over fake bombing video. Conservative TV presenter Sean Hannity got a correction by the BBC after he shared a purely false video. The Fox News host on Saturday posted a video to Meta platforms with the caption, "Fordo is gone." Referring to one of the nuclear sites the U.S. struck in Iran, the clip Hannity posted showed a large explosion, and it was assumed by many commentators that the video depicted Fordo as it was being destroyed. But a senior BBC journalist corrected the TV host Fox News. Primetime host Sean Hannity has posted this video on Instagram, falsely claiming that it was Shozut strikes on Fordo. Tonight, the journalist wrote on X late on Saturday, the video he's posted is actually from December 2024, showing Israeli strikes on a missile base in Syria. Popular liberal commentator Spiro's Ghost chimed in. Sean Hannity posting fake nonsense shocked, I tell you. So Donald Trump's stooges in the media, and of course in his administration, are trying to pull all the stunts possible to pretend that this was a huge success, that Donald Trump somehow deserves praise for a military operation that was 1, illegal, 2, unnecessary, and 3, unsuccessful. This is the Trump presidency. It is lies. It is criminality. It is incompetence. It is chaos. And that it is all tried to be covered up by Donald Trump's propagandists in the media. It is no surprise that this is what we are seeing. And it's very clear that this is why Donald Trump doesn't want to be providing intelligence to any Democrats in Congress. Why he didn't share initial intelligence with them before the strike, and why we're seeing such a delay in getting this intelligence to them after Donald Trump does not want anyone equipped with the ability to call out the lie that he has pushed. That this was a successful strike, that Donald Trump somehow has our nation's best interest in mind, that is laughable. It is absurd. It is just absurd. This has been nonstop lies from Donald Trump, and those were called out very perfectly by Tim Kaine in a clip I want to take a look at right here.
There was no urgency that suggested, while diplomatic talks were underway, that the U.S. should take this unilateral action by President Trump's orders yesterday.
Well, the vice president was on another network earlier this morning and said, we are not at war with Iran. We are at war with Iran's nuclear program. There seems to be a lot of legal parsing on the definition of the word war here. What do you make of that description?
I think it's BS, and I think anybody hearing it would conclude the same thing. When you're bombing another nation, ask them if they think it's war. They do. Would we think it was war if Iran bombed a U.S. nuclear facility? Of course we would. And the U.S., you know, we've invaded two neighbors of Iran, Afghanistan and Iraq, to topple their regimes since 2000. Those were wars. Mm-hmm. This is the U.S. jumping into a war of choice at Donald Trump's urging, without any compelling national security interest for the United States to act in this way, particularly without a debate and vote in Congress. We should not be sending troops and risking troops' lives in an offensive war without a debate in Congress.
Well, just on the facts, though, the president has not authorized ground forces. In fact, he said he really doesn't want to send in ground forces. When it came to what was just described to the public by the Pentagon, it was really characterized as limited in scope. It sounds like you believe those early hour descriptions are going to turn out to be false.
I do. The War Powers Resolution says that a member of Congress can challenge the president if the president initiates hostilities against a foreign nation. Doesn't use even though the title is War Powers Resolution, the statute says if you initiate hostilities without congressional authorization, even a single member of the House or Senate can force a vote on the Senate floor. There is no doubt that the U.S. sending this massive set of Tomahawk missiles and B-2 bombers and bunker busters on 3 Iranian nuclear sites is hostilities. Now, again, some in the Senate may say this is great and we want to vote for it. Mm-hmm. I happen to think that getting into a third offensive war in the Middle East in the last 25 years is absolutely reckless and foolish, and I'm going to be doing everything I can to convince my colleagues of that. I may or may not succeed, but Congress should have the debate and vote on this before we escalate the risk to American troops, which this action has done.
We know that prior to this action, Northern Command had already directed additional security measures on all U.S. military installations. You've got a lot of military installations in Virginia. What do you know about the threat to the homeland at this point?
We're going to have a briefing Tuesday, Margaret, and I'll learn more then. But what I do know, I also have a lot of Virginians deployed in the Middle East. There are about 40,000 U.S. troops deployed all over the Middle East, sailors on Navy ships in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, folks in land bases in Syria and Iraq. And yes, this action dramatically raises the risk to them. And the question is, for what? If the Iranian nuclear program, Vice President Vance says it's a war against their nuclear program. Of course, we had curtailed that diplomatically a few years ago until Donald Trump tore up the diplomatic deal. But even if you needed to wage war, when the Israeli foreign minister is saying we've set the nuclear program back at least 2 or 3 years, why launch this strike, escalating risks to Americans and American troops over the weekend with no real discussion with Congress, no real debate before the American public? I don't want to be lied into another war in the way we were with Iraq in 2002.
Donald Trump's administration has been built on lies. Take a look at Doge. What bigger lie was there in the administration than Donald Trump cared about going after waste, fraud, and abuse? Doge was merely a means to an end for Donald Trump to make people distrust the government further as his corruption festered all throughout our agencies. It was a way for Elon Musk to stop any accountability for his companies as he stole billions more of our tax dollars. Donald Trump is now building the next lie of his administration in an effort that he thinks will raise his approval rating. It will not. Especially if we call out this attack every single day and make it clear that this is not what we wanted. It is why Congress has the approval to declare war and not the president, because it is a body that represents us. The people Donald Trump surely doesn't, and we're going to continue to call that out every single day on this show. And if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.